And we're live.
Succotash, collard greens, and that's just the appetizers. Signing off,
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the second edition of From the Chair After Dark with your host, Mr. Cost. I will be joining you tonight, back in my executive producing role. Tonight, for your viewing pleasure, Nathan will talk about NXT and probably one of the best matches that we've seen in MLW history. And we'll be back in about 30 seconds to start the show. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As I said, this is the second edition of From the Chair After Dark. The first edition, our host tried to do hosting and executive producing on his own. So I came back in tonight to help him with the executive producing part. But let's welcome in right now our host, Mr. Nathan Noss.
How's it going, everybody? And yes, I tried that before. Thank you for putting up with me as it was my first time. I will be taking a course from Tony on how to do it, right? Because I will be helping with Soul Radio, but we'll get into that in a little bit. So let's start talking about the match that Tony mentioned in the beginning. As he said, it was probably one of the best matches that him and I have seen. Full disclosure, we did a Zoom meeting, and he and I watched that together with me watching it through his computer because I don't get the Reels channel from Stars. But it was between Jacob's Fraud 2 and Hammerstone. And I thought that was right up there with Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat, Ric Flair, Harley Race. It's kind of amazing how many of those type of matches that Ric Flair had. But, I mean, they were back and forth. hitting each other's finishers. I said this to Tony when we were watching the match. As far as Jacob Fatu goes, big man shouldn't fly like that. And I would love to, personally, I was thinking about this during NXT when I was kind of mentally preparing for this match or this podcast. I would love to see a match between Jacob Fatu and the Fallen Angel Christopher Daniels. Mainly because Christopher Daniels and Jacob Fatu do a similar move. Actually, they're identical. Although Daniels calls his the best moonsault ever, where I'm not quite sure if Jacob's ever given a name to that moonsault. He just uses it. But Hammerstone ended up getting the win after a second Nightmare Pendulum, which is incredibly impressive based on the size that Jacob Fatu is. For those who haven't seen Jacob Fatu, he is a member of the Bloodline. And he weighs, correct me if I'm wrong, Tony, around 283, 320, somewhere in there. So that Hammerstone got him up for a Nightmare Pendulum, which, again, if nobody's seen MLW or the old WCWC where Hammerstone was, the Nightmare Pendulum is a stalling suplex into a rock bottom. So bravo to MLW for that match. And the build for that match was wonderful too. The only thing I have a problem with, and Tony and I were talking about this before we went live, was poor ladies. Because the match that had to follow that was Billy Starks, no relation to Ricky, and Taya Valkyrie. And man, it must have been what it feels like on WrestleMania when the showstopper match happens, because there was no way they were going to follow that match and not have it fall flat. I think Taya is one of the best women's wrestlers in the world, as evidence of how many companies she's worked for this year. And I think Billy Starks is going to be the future. But they were dealt a bad hand tonight because there was no way the fans were going to be into their match. So, Tony, your thoughts on that match?
A match which Taya Valkyrie did actually keep her featherweight title.
Yes.
But let's talk about that Jacob Fatu match again, just to reiterate Mr. Noss's thoughts. I thought it was probably the best match I've seen this year alone in any company. And it was up there with the Ric Flair Undertaker retirement match.
I would agree with that. Both of their retirement matches, actually.
Phenomenal wrestling. And for you guys that actually follow Nathan and I on this, you both would, or everybody should know that Nathan and I started watching both Jacob Fatu and Hammerstone in the early 90s with a company called WCWC. West Coast Championship Wrestling, based out of Salem, Oregon.
Which was a very good promotion, by the way.
Very good promotion. And Mike and the host has also said both of those wrestlers are big fish in small organization. And we're going to see very, very big things probably from Fatu and Hammerstone in the very, very near future. In fact, let's bring, before we get into NXT, see how I'm on here and we're just doing our little thing. It's supposed to be an after, but we're going to throw a little question off here.
All right, let's do it.
Is Fatu done in MLW? And if so, does he join his family in the WWE, or does he make his own legacy in AEW?
And for those, we don't have any current viewers, but for those who watch that this later, you can leave that answer on my Facebook. In my opinion, or to the From the Chair Facebook page, either one. In my opinion, I think Jacob will go to WWE and possibly be the one that implodes the bloodline. Maybe they play Jacob off as one of the the elders that they keep talking about. We know they already sent Solo. Maybe they sent Jacob in to topple the whole thing. As far as Hammerstone goes, as much as people aren't going to like this, I could see Hammerstone going into AEW and reforming his team with MJF. Because
ironically, I agree.
Yeah, right now MJF has nobody, and it seems like a lot of people in AEW have a lot of groups or seconds or whatever. And you can't deny, as much as everybody hates MJF, the chemistry that Hammerstone, MJF, and Richard Holiday, who we hope is getting better after his cancer diagnosis, had as part of the dynasty.
So, yeah. Again, great match. I feel, again, very, very sorry for the ladies that had to follow that match, because they actually opened with the world title match instead of leaving it for the last match. So I really felt sorry for anybody that followed that match after the show. That was kind of like he was saying, the show-stopping moment of WWE, or the Iron Man match, the Montreal Screwjob, so to speak.
Ooh, good comparison.
Between Brett and Sean, nobody wanted to follow that match.
Yeah, there was a move before, I think Raph did it, called the Death Sentence, when he was, with Mortis and James Vandenberg. For the ladies, that was the Death Sentence, right? Like I said before, there was just no way that was going to turn out well for them.
And don't get me wrong, Taya Valkyrie, phenomenal wrestler. She's done it all in her wrestling career. She just got dealt a bad hand, having to follow that phenomenal match.
And as you and I both said, that Jacob Fatu Hammerstone match should have been the main event.
It would have been a main event on any major promotion. AEW, WWE, hell, even Impact. It would have been the main event.
They should have had the Ravens group, the Hive, come out first. Because you can always do an interview segment, first to kind of get the crowd into what's going on. Then have the women's match as like an appetizer for the, for the main event. Since Billy Starks and Taya can tear down the house on their own right. And thank you for the viewer who tuned in. So that's how I would have laid out the card personally.
And I kind of agree with that. Now I'll give the host a second to conduct himself, and we'll come back and he will give you the rundown on NXT, which unfortunately for fans I do not follow, just for things beyond my control. I watch other shows and stuff on at the time that NXT is on, and but I do follow the wrestlers of NXT. I just don't follow the product very well. So we'll be back in 30 seconds. All right, welcome back. And now for the recap of NXT.
So NXT started with Pretty Deadly, who apparently watched way too much Elton John when they were growing up, or maybe they're just big fans of Elton John. Being announced as the host of Stand and Deliver, which we found out last week, so I don't know why they had to do it again. And then there was about 5 or 10 minutes of them just saying Stand and Deliver, yes boy. And then they wanted the loss that they incurred from Gallus erased from the record, and thought their hosting abilities gave them that right. Kind of reminded me of early WCW with the Cat Ernest Miller when he was the commissioner. So that didn't happen. Then they got mad because Braun Breaker and Carmelo Hayes put them through a table last week, which brought out Carmelo Hayes. Carmelo said that him and Trix Williams could take out Pretty Deadly, and they didn't need Braun Breaker. But of course, Braun Breaker came out. All 4 of them got to a brawl. Braun Breaker and Carmelo Hayes got the upper hand, although Carmelo did get knocked down. Braun kind of helped him up, but there was that challenger champion tension. And then it was announced that in the main event, it would be Braun Breaker and Carmelo Hayes versus Pretty Deadly. The first match was for another spot in the NXT Women's Championship ladder match. But before the match, they had a tweet from former champion Roxanne Perez, who said that she's incredibly frustrated about not being in there, and who wouldn't. But she will be back stronger than ever. So the match was between Indi Hartwell and Tiffany Stratton, who reminds me of a knockoff of somebody from Quiltless, but that's here nor there. And the match was good. They've had some history in the past, primarily Indi Hartwell telling Tiffany Stratton that she shouldn't have given herself her own locker room, that the women's locker room and NXT works together. Of course, Tiffany didn't want to hear that. But the match was back and forth. Ironically, Tiffany Stratton used Jacob Fatu's triple jump moonsault to get the pin. Definitely not as good as Jacob Fatu. But so now it'll be Tiffany Stratton, Gigi Dolan, and Zoe Stark for the first 3 members of the ladder match. And then they went to commercial. They came back, and that hidden camera thing that's been kind of stooging everybody off saw Indi Hartwell getting very frustrated, like throwing boxes around or cases, for the equipment. And Zoe Stark walked up. Indi got mad and said, "What are you looking at?" And Zoe said, "Not the next NXT champion." They did an interview with Gigi Dolan, and the interviewer asked her what she thought about the field so far, but she said it was too early to tell. Then Tiffany Stratton got into the interview and said it doesn't matter because now she's in it. Said that she was going to climb the ladder to the tippy top, which was a very weak line in my opinion. And then said toodles and walked away. The next part was Gallus at a bar. Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped the part. Fallon Henley confronted Kiana James about Sebastian, about the information that she had found in the office. And Kiana looked like a kid that just got stuck with her hand in the cookie jar. Said that she didn't know what she was talking about, kind of like a Jerry Springer episode a little bit. Except for the fact that Fallon had proof on her phone. They didn't really show what it was. Could have been a picture or whatnot. But she said she was going to go tell Jensen because that's her family. And even if Kiana doesn't care about her, Fallon, or about him, Fallon does. So they ended that one. Next, they had Johnny Gargano's music play, but it wasn't Johnny Gargano that came out at first. It was Hard Body Hobby, which makes me feel kind of weird just saying that. Dressed as Johnny Gargano, and not a very good copy, by the way. And he basically said that Shawn Michaels made the wrong choice. That he'd been in the NXT for like 7 months, so that made him equal to Johnny Gargano. Johnny came out as probably pissed off as I've ever seen him, and that's saying something considering his matches with Tommaso Ciampa. And beat the crap out of Hard Body, threw him over the barricade in between that little partition that they have. Went into the ring, pulled out a contract, and told Grayson Waller that if the match at Stand and Deliver, which is Saturday, next Saturday, will now be an unsanctioned match, which means no rules, which means Johnny can do whatever he wants to Grayson Waller. Grayson Waller then shows up on the Titantron and tells Johnny Gargano the only way he'll sign the contract for the unsanctioned match is if he gives the contract to Vic Joseph, who he called Johnny Gargano's best friend, and then next week Johnny Gargano is banned from the building, and then he'll sign the contract for Vic Joseph, which makes me think that Vic Joseph's going to get beat up next week to probably prove a point to Johnny. Then they went to a bar where Gallus was drinking and shooting pool until the Creed brothers came in. The Creed brothers challenged Gallus to a pool game, which Gallus owned them on. Then the Creed said that pool wasn't their game, but darts was. So Gallus said, fine, we'll play you in darts. And then the Creeds owned Gallus in the dart game. Then they agreed to have a tag team title match at Stand and Deliver. But on their way out, D'Angelo and Stax is now called the Underboss, said that they had more to talk about. So all three teams went into the bar, and they cut back to the arena and showed Wesley walking to the ring. Now, Wesley can pick 4 challengers to go against him for the North American Championship. So he comes out to the ring, says he knows he's been kind of crazy with this open challenge thing, but he likes to live on the edge. And he wants to fight the best in the world. And no, it's not CM Punk or Chris Jericho. So that's why he challenges everybody to come out and see what's going to happen. Then we get the television NXT debut of Dragon Lee. Dragon Lee comes out and says he likes the chaos that is caused by Wesley's open challenge, Wesley says he agrees, and Dragon Lee gets the first spot in the Fatal 4-Way match or it'll be a 5-way at Stand and Deliver. Then you go into a match with JD McDonough and Ilya Dragunov. Great match. Those two have great chemistry together from their time in NXT UK. Back and forth. A lot of commercial breaks for the picture-in-picture. I think NXT does that even a little bit more than AEW does. Like I said, back and forth. They go outside where Dragon Lee was sitting, watching the match, and then Dragunov gets thrown into Dragon Lee. They all start fighting, and then Wesley does a dive over the top rope, lands on all three of them. They all four start fighting, and then security comes in, pulls them apart. It's then decided by Wesley in the back that Dragon Lee, Dragunov, and McDonough will be three of the five. So it's those three, and then him, and then now the fifth member will be determined next week in a battle royal, which Axiom was happy about because he just wanted an opportunity. Then you go back to the bar, and the Creed brothers and Gallus and the Don and Stax are all hammered. Like Julius Creed is wearing the Don's hat. Brutus Creed has the pool cue, or the thing you put the pool balls in over his head. And so then they all three agree to have a triple threat at Stand and Deliver. And Gallus tells the Creeds and the Dawn to don't forget to tip the bartender. And they all Gallus leaves and the other two pass out. Then we had another women's qualifying match for the ladder match between Ivy Nile and Ivy Nile and you know what? We're gonna go on to a 30-second break while I remember who she wrestled.
Okay, hold on.
Okay, and we're back. It was Ivy Nile and Maya Valkyrie. Not to be confused with Taya Valkyrie. And the winner, it was a great match. I really like what Valkyrie is doing. Although I don't understand the bird of prey thing as much, but because she doesn't fly around that much. But and this will be one for like the old time wrestling fans. She did the Bret Hart walk up the turnbuckle. Wrestling fans and Bret Hart, and then flipped over and rolled Ivy Nile up for the pin. So now she's in the match. Then it was then you saw Fallon Henley walking in the back, but then she was attacked, presumably to go talk to Jensen. But then she was attacked by Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. until Kiana James made the save. The referees got in there to break it up. Said wait till next Saturday. Then Fallon used that by saying that, Kiana used that to say that Fallon shouldn't talk to Jensen right now, probably until after Stand and Deliver. Then you had the main. Then you had a video package of Hank Walker, how he became a wrestler and the stuff that he had learned from Drew Gulak. Then you saw Drew Gulak and Charlie Dempsey backstage watching it on the monitor. Gulak said that Dempsey was 10 times better than Hank Walker and that they'll prove it, soon. Then you had the great debate between the Schism and Chase University. And they had a new commentator named Blake Howard, which I believe was a commentator that used to do some of the commentary for the WCWC, who now works for WWE, but this is his first thing in NXT. The first two people to debate were Rip and Duke Hudson, and Duke was completely checked out. Like, he doesn't want to be in Chase U anymore. So he just kind of half-heartedly did his thing and then walked away. The next one was Thea Hale and Alva Rain. Alva Rain, I have to say, kind of channeled her dad in this one and had kind of a rock promo as part of her debate, which I thought was interesting and actually pretty cool. Thea Hale basically hurried up as fast as she could to get through hers, just because she's apparently still connected to the Schism somehow after they kidnapped her many weeks ago. Then it was going to be Andre Chase and Joe Gacy, but Gacy said he didn't need to be in the debate because he had already beat Andre Chase. And then all of a sudden, Tyler Bates came down from the audience and saying that Chase U gives people something to look forward to in NXT and cultivates the future stars of NXT. Then at the end of the debate, Bates challenged Schism to an 8-man tag and Stand and Deliver, so it'll be Bates and Chase U against the Schism, so that'll be Ava Ray's first in-ring competition. The Schism said no because there's nothing on the line that they really want, up until Duke Hudson offered Chase U or control of Chase U up in the 8-man tag. So whoever wins, I guess, controls, which my guess for that match, even though I'm pretty sure we'll do predictions at a later date, would be that Duke Hudson would turn on Chase U just by the way he's checking out of the, everything that happens. Then you had the main event, which was Carmelo Hayes and Braun Breaker versus Pretty Deadly. Pretty standard match. Pretty Deadly, was more of the seasoned tag team, obviously, so they had a lot of their tag team moves. Braun Breaker did a really cool shoulder tackle, kind of similar to what Madcap Moss does, where he bounces off the ropes multiple times and to get as much speed. Hit the Steiner Bulldog, i.e. his dad, but was pulled out of the ring, and Carmelo Hayes got the tag on the way by and hit the jumping Famouser, so they got the win. At the end, Carmelo had the belt, kind of held it out between them, and Braun went to grab for it, and they pulled it away, or he pulled it away, and then they kind of posed, and that's how NXT ended. All in all, I would give that one an A-. Actually, they had some good matches. They really did a good job of setting up the anticipation for Stand and Deliver. I love the way Johnny Gargano and Grayson Waller are working their program. And I'm intrigued to see Dragon Lee in a WWE ring at Stand and Deliver. So, yeah, I thought it was a good show. I think Carmelo Hayes and Rob Breaker, even though it's the main event of Stand and Deliver, is probably going to steal it, though, I mean, as far as stealing the show goes. And like I said, that was NXT.
Okay. Give us a 30-second break and we'll be right back.
So, Tony, your thoughts on my recap of NXT?
Well, it's always better when I'm around running the show for you like normal, but
Yes, I know. There's a comfort level.
but no, you did really good. So normally we don't do this, but you know what? We're on here, so what the hell? We're just gonna go into just another from the chair.
All right, let's do it.
Because I'm sure there's information out there that you want to just talk about.
Yeah, well, I mean, one of them is the fact kind of ties into our last topic on After Dark. The rumor is that, and it's kind of I guess it would be a spoiler for Stand and Deliver, that Braun Breaker is supposed to get a call up to the main roster. Selfishly, hopefully at Portland and when we go to SmackDown. And also Cameron Grimes, but I don't know if you would really call that one a call up, considering he's actually been up there for a while working main event. Although I did hear that he's really kind of jacked and kind of shaved his beard down to a goatee, so I'm kind of interested to see that. They still are talking about WWE getting sold, and that's why Vince McMahon's back. Although I'm still not convinced he's not doing something creative, just because I don't think Vince McMahon can stay out of a bunch of things, even if he tried. I don't know who's going to buy WWE, but personally, I hope it's not the Saudi financial group, just because you're going to have a lot more problems with them than the money would be worth, even though it'd probably be a crap ton of money. So there's that. And then the other big thing was wrestlers say that they would like to have which this actually intrigued me a little bit. The wrestlers would like to have a mental health professional on the road with them. I think that would be a great idea, because let's think about this for a minute, since we're on the from the chair thing and we're already on here. They wrestle 362 days a year. And then they're doing signings. So it would stand to reason that they would get depressed or run down. And instead of waiting for them to get home and finding a therapist or somebody to confide in, wouldn't it be beneficial for the company to have somebody already there? Uh, so again, I think that's a great idea. Uh, Tony, do you have any thoughts on that topic and who might buy WWE?
No thoughts on the buying of WWE yet. Mental health is a very, very crucial thing. Um, in fact, it has probably something to do with a conspiracy theory that we will not name on this podcast yet, just because that's just a bigger can of worms. But I know the host knows where I was going with that.
Yeah.
So we will not get into that conspiracy theory on this podcast just because I don't want to open the can of worms.
At least not yet.
At least not yet. Yes, exactly. But however, I thought it should be something that they should have done years upon years ago. Maybe some of the wrestlers that have taken their lives could have been still with us today if they had the mental health professionals with them from the very beginning. However, selfishly, I still want to get back to that MLW match just because
Because it was phenomenal. No offense to AJ Styles.
it was phenomenal. And I really think Jacob Fatu might get out of MLW. And like Nathan said earlier, selfishly, I hope that he comes and joins his family in WWE and they debut him in Portland, Oregon, which for many fans, like I said from the very beginning, is where Jacob Fatu got his start.
Yeah, and let's talk about why we think that, because you and I talked about that before. Let's talk about why we think that he might be done with MLW. There's nothing really for him to do in MLW anymore. I mean, he's already been the world champion. You're not going to put him in a tag team because his family's already the tag team champions. I guess you could put him up against John Hennigan, but we don't know how long he's going to be in MLW, especially with Taya joining AEW. So I don't know where that would go. His only other feud, other than Hammerstone, was the real one, which is still weird to call Enzo that, but that's another story for another day. And Enzo kind of has a double feud going between Microman, who, in my opinion, is one of the most entertaining wrestlers I've ever seen in the last 5 years. And then he's got another one going with Mans Warner, who, for anybody that saw the John Moxley Mans Warner match from Rampage a few months back, will know what Mans Warner could bring to the party. Although I think John Moxley might have knocked some brains loose a little bit in Mans Warner, because when Mads Kruger, I know that sounds similar, but they're different, was feuding with Mads Warner, he kept saying that Mads Kruger was Doc Gallows, which I thought was hilarious, considering at the time Doc Gallows was on Raw. So, I mean, he can't really be in two places at once. So getting back to my original point, and I apologize, sometimes I trail off on side tangents. There's nothing for Jacob Fatu to do right now. And I was thinking about this while you were talking. Could you imagine a tag team back to the old days of the Head Shrinkers and the Wild Samoans of Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu?
Oh, yes, please.
That would be you'd be right up there talking about LOD territory is unstoppable.
Oh yes, please. Along with the Uzos in that bloodline,
Mm-hmm.
2 dominant tag teams, and Roman himself.
Yes.
Yes, please.
Now here's the question, and it's the question to our 2 viewers that we have, and thank you for everybody that's been watching tonight. I think we've had up to 5 people at one time, which I think ties the most that we've ever had. Um, what would you call them? Would you go back to an old name of, like the new head shrinkers, or put some spin on it? Because I don't know if you would do the bloodline still, because people will connect that back to Roman Reigns still, and if they're separating and doing their own thing, you know, I
I don't
don't
know.
know if that would work too much.
Yeah, that's a good question. And the manager of that new Wild Samoans could be another member of the family, like maybe Rakishi.
Well, I mean, how about this? Let's go one step further. I like that idea, but let's go one step further. Why couldn't you have Rikishi and the manager of the original Head Shrinkers and one of the original um, Wild Samoans, which is Alpha?
Because isn't Alpha running a promotion of his own?
Yes, but I'm guarantee you he's probably running it with somebody, so you wouldn't have to use him very much, but for like the big events.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Okay, who wouldn't like to see a nostalgia thing of Alpha walking around with a kendo stick with a piece of chicken hanging out of his mouth and he nog on it before he hits somebody with a kendo stick?
Yeah, we miss the good old WWE days, don't we?
Yeah. To this day, the loudest shot I've ever heard with a kendo stick was WrestleMania 9 with the Steiner. When the Head Triggers did a hot shot with Scott Steiner across the thing, and Alpha misjudged where he was at and cracked Steiner in the back of the head with the kendo stick. And it was outside at Caesar's Palace, and it sounded like somebody shot a cannon through the backside of that arena.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I found out also today that AJ Styles went and saw a foot and ankle specialist, and he'll be out for another 4 months. It was funny too because the announcer said, or the guy from Slap Rock Wrestling said, he'll be out for another 4 months, so that means he'll miss WrestleMania. And I thought, well, duh. WrestleMania's in 2 weeks. If he's gonna be out for 4 months, he's gonna miss a lot more than WrestleMania.
Exactly. So, Mr. Nas, how are you feeling with your predictions?
I'm a little shaky, honestly. Because, and I'll tell you why. There was a report that Roman Reigns is going to take a vacation once he loses the championships. So then that would lead you to believe that Cody Rhodes is winning. However, Angle this afternoon said that the original plan was for Jey Uso, or let's call him what Roman called him at the beginning, main event Jey Uso, was going to face Roman Reigns at SummerSlam. And if that's the case, my thought process is, and what makes me a little bit shaky on that one is, do you have Roman keep the titles? Or do you think the feud's built up enough with Jey and Roman that you wouldn't need him to have a title? Or do you split the titles and he only has one?
You're so wearing a dress to the Mariners game in August.
Yes, I am. The other ones that make me a little bit nervous are those fatal 4-way tag matches. Just because in fatal 4-way matches, it's so hard to figure out what's going to happen. I don't know. Well, I mean, I could go through predictions now, but we have that planned for another day. So,
Oh yes, we do. Yes, we do. And it's gonna be live on from the chair. That way he can't get out of his dress wearing deal.
and actually, I'll be doing another one with Tonette also on the 31st, which is next Friday. Um, but yeah, I'm feeling kind of nervous about this bet. The more I watch the lead in to WrestleMania, there's certain matches that I'm pretty sure, pretty confident about. Like I'm pretty confident that I'm gonna give some away, and I'll just say them again. I'm pretty confident that John Cena is gonna beat Austin Theory because you're not gonna bring John Cena in and, and have him lose. Plus, what you had said earlier about John Cena being able to tie Ric Flair for 6 United States Championship reigns, I think would be a big thing for Cena. Plus, he's gone on record lately is him understanding that his time in WWE is running short. So maybe he wants like one more run with the title that, let's be fair, he made famous as far as WWE is concerned with all his open challenges. Um, so I'm pretty confident about that one. I'm extremely confident about Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley because Rhea Ripley's been tearing it up and Charlotte's pretty much been doing nothing except fighting Sonya Deville. Um, so, but the good thing is Charlotte's going to break a record at WrestleMania too. Do you know which one that is?
No, most WrestleMania losses.
No, although that's kind of funny. She'll be the only woman to ever main event 2 WrestleManias. Because the rumor is that Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair are going to main event night 1 of WrestleMania.
Interesting.
I'm extremely confident about Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. And I wanna say this to you too. I don't know if you watched my video from before, the one I did about Raw. But I had an interesting take on how I would do Sami Zayn just because I think it would put a little interest into it. Plus, for me, it would be a throwback to like ROH and their history more than ROH because WWE is not going to run out promote that, especially now that AEW owns it. But what I was saying is, Sammy gets injured this week, right? Like the Usos and Solo take him out. Maybe they do the running hip attack into a semi, with his head pressed up against it. So then Sammy gets taken out by a stretcher. Everybody thinks he's going to miss WrestleMania. So, but at WrestleMania, Kevin Owens says, well, Sammy's not here because of the bloodline, but I pulled another person from my past. Right? And El Generico comes out.
Which is Sami Zayn.
Which is Sami Zayn under a mask. The reason that would be cool was most of Kevin Owens' feud with Sami Zayn in Ring of Honor and on the independent circuit was as El Generico. And you could bring him back because Sami Zayn's storyline was that El Generico went to work at an orphanage in Guatemala, Mexico. So, I mean, I don't think that's going to happen. That's just a kind of fun fantasy booking thing that I thought would have been cool.
Interesting. So, okay. Another little thing that I'd love to get your opinion on. So, And that has to go back to the Cody Rhodes segment with Roman Reigns on Monday
Mhm.
night about how he says that he's going to have his brother at ringside.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if that happened because Tony Khan's always been big on like families, right? Look at what he did with for the Huber family. Rest in peace, Brody Lee. Then look what he did for the Briscoes. Uh, even putting on a tribute show even before Warner Media let him by putting it on YouTube. Um, and then, so I think that Tony Khan would work a deal out with Triple H. Again, that probably wouldn't be something that he could do with Vince McMahon. Or Nick Khan, because I don't know if you know this or not, but apparently Nick Khan is good friends with Shag. Nick Khan is good friends with Shag Khan.
Well, yeah, no kidding.
I know, right? So I can see that happening. Um, although my question is, would he come out as Dustin Rhodes, or would Vince bring him out as Goldust because that's what he was known in as in WWE? Personally, I would want him to come out just as Dustin Rhodes because I think if he came out as Goldust, people would kind of scoff at that and might take a little bit away from Cody's like shining moment. Uh, the part I liked about there was two parts that other than that I liked about the promo, which I have to admit I watched earlier today because I fell asleep last night when it was going on live. Thank you, internet. Um, was the fact that they didn't bring up Dusty this time. You know, they just focused on going after each other um, and you know saying their thing, and the fact that Roman Reigns indirectly but not directly brought up AEW. And what I mean by that is he said, how do you feel like you could win the world title when you couldn't even stay in the last company you were in and the one that you created?
Yes, but what is the trade between Hunter and Tony?
See, that's a good question. I don't know. Because I don't know what Tony Khan would want. Um, I I don't know. Maybe no, then one more because he just debuted. I was gonna say maybe and he's already been over there. I was thinking about Dragon Lee, but he's already been over there in AEW because at that House of the Dragon uh, theme show, uh, LFI took on the Elite. Um, Gosh, that's a good question.
Well, good thing I thought about it before I asked it. What would you think of a Forbidden Door?
Ooh, in what way?
Well, just kind of like how they do it with New Japan. A
So, like,
Forbidden Door between WWE, AEW.
ooh, the intrigue in that.
And here, I'll even make it one step better. It would be a Forbidden Door champion versus champions.
Ooh. So then that would be. Are we saying that Cody won the title going into this, or
We're saying that it would be a Cody Rhodes versus MJF.
ooh, I like that.
We'd be saying it would be Sammy and Kevin Owens
Kevin versus the Guns.
versus the Guns.
then it would be well, the problem is AEW doesn't really have a third. Well, yes, they do, the TNT Championship. So it'd be Will Hobbs versus either uh, Theory or Gunther.
But didn't you just say Cena was winning at Mania?
So that's right. So it'd be Cena and Will Hobbs.
Possibly, or it could be I think it'd be a better match, Gunther versus Will Hobbs.
Then again, if we're going after WrestleMania, it could be Sheamus or Drew McIntyre, which either way, that would be a good match too. And then
let's think about this women's match. You could put Rhea Ripley up against let's just do it. Rhea Ripley up against Jade Cargill.
Ooh.
And Bianca against
Jamie Hayter. Ooh. I don't know if I wouldn't switch that though.
You know what? Let's do that. Let's switch it.
Because the reason I said that is because Bianca and Jade kind of have that baddest bitch in the world, like, co-gimmicks going.
Mm-hmm.
And selfishly, I just want to see Jamie Hayter and Rhea Ripley tear down the house and beat the crap out of each other.
And then, of course, you'd need something with like the House of Black. So maybe a Usos and Solo.
Ooh, yeah.
Versus House of Black.
I like that, but I think Vince would want to do something with Darby Allin, so I'm trying to figure that one out.
But it's not Vince that's setting this card up; it's Hunter.
Okay, fair enough. I think Hunter would want to do something with Darby Allin.
And Hunter would want to do something with Darby, so that would be maybe Ricochet Darby.
Why don't we do this?
Or Mustafa Darby?
Why don't we? Because he'd want to do something with Jungle Boy, and because they have. Hold on, I'm running through something in my head. Yeah, that would work. What if we did this? What if Rey Mysterio decides not to retire after WrestleMania? Because that's not a for sure thing yet, right? What if we do a kind of a mixed up tag team on the AEW side where you've got Darby, Jungle Boy, and Sammy Guevara playing off, their interaction from last Wednesday versus Rey Mysterio, Ricochet, and Braun Strowman. Thoughts? So,
I don't know how I'd feel about that one. And yes, I know we're leaving a couple of very big names off of the WWE card, but I wouldn't want to see a Roman Reigns versus Jon Moxley.
No.
And I wouldn't want to see a Seth Rollins versus Jon Moxley.
No.
And Charlotte Flair, she has really nothing else to prove. So going up against Jade Cargill or
Jamie Hayter
really doesn't do it for me. And the other women on the roster, let's be honest, Charlotte's already beat.
Yeah. Although, if you could connect it somehow with New Japan, through like the Tony Khan, connection, and somewhat of the WWE connection. I would love to see, just because they have a built-in story, a match between Saraya and Mercedes Moné.
And who says that's still not coming?
True. Now I have one that people might look at me and go, huh? But people do that all the time. I would put Omos in a proving ground match against the recently healed man that wants to get back in the ring, the Big Show Paul White. The reason I say that one is, why not put Omos, who they're grooming to be the next Big Show in WWE, against the man who's probably the best big man of this generation. You know, for that size.
Yeah.
I have one more that I would do. For no other reason, just to see this guy get the crap beat out of him. I would put Hangman Adam Page against Logan Paul.
Battle of the Buckshot.
Yep. And you know as well as I do that Hangman Adam Page would beat the ever-loving hell out of Logan Paul.
Yeah, and selfishly, as much as I'd say I'd hate to see those three fight, selfishly I'd love to see those three reunite just for one night only.
I would too, but who do you put them up against?
Whoever the hell Tony Khan wants.
Oh my God, I just got it. Holy cow. What if, for one night only, they reform the Shield in theory, right? Because they're all in one group. But what if for one night only, John Moxley, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, Moxley's already there, but Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins joined the BCC for one night. So it'd be a 10-man tag. And then their opponents would be, because it'd be like a crossover, thing, would be the whole Dark Order. So that would be Alex Reynolds, John Silver, Evil Uno, Stu Grayson, and I'm trying to think who would be the fifth. And and Matt Hardy. But not as Matt Hardy. And I'll let you do the impersonation because you do it better than I do.
I'm not feeling a broken Hardy at that moment.
Okay, so who would you put in there?
I'm feeling Matt Hardy as Matt Hardy. I don't think Matt Hardy does broken Hardy without Jeff.
Okay. But yeah, okay, then I would put Matt Hardy in there. That would be one hell of a 10-man tag.
Well, you were, but I mean, you were right, but I wasn't thinking BCC. I was thinking just the Shield as the Shield reformed for one night only versus the EVPs and the elite of AEW.
Ooh, even better.
Of course. That's why I have my moniker.
But my question is this. and I know you're a big fan of his. What do you do with Adam Cole, baby?
You leave him and Britt Baker off the show?
Really?
Or, okay, you put Cole and Britt up against... Well, you could do this two ways. You could put Cole and Britt up against Edge and Beth, or you could put them up against Miz and Maurice.
Selfishly, I'd like to see Miz and Maurice just because Adam Cole and Britt Baker would own them.
Or, here you go. You don't do a trios match that night with the House of Black, and you bring in Aleister and Queen Zelina.
Oh, that would be cool. I like that one. So again, for any of our two viewers that we have, or anybody that had listened before, if you guys have some ideas on matches that would go for that fantasy card, shoot us a comment. If not right now, shoot it to our From the Chair Facebook page.
Well, I know one of the fans in the room wanted to ask you, will you see any NXT stars make debuts at Mania?
Probably not Mania. Probably the Monday or Friday after. Okay, let me rephrase that because I just thought of something. The only one I could see possibly making it, the only match that I could see an NXT star possibly making a debut in is the Bobby Lashley match. Since Bray Wyatt's been sick and they don't know if he's going to be in it. Which one would I put in there? I don't know. If you feel like you're going to bring him up right away, why not put Braun Breaker up against Bobby Lashley?
Yeah, I don't know. That brought up an interesting match, though, or an interesting thought for... We all know that Bray Wyatt's not going to make Mania.
No,
so who's Lashley's opponent? Would you put Braun in there, or would you bring somebody like a re-debuting, like perhaps as you were trying to allude to yesterday, our fan was alluding to yesterday, maybe returning RKO?
Mm-hmm. Or, as he said yesterday, maybe you put Bobby Lashley in as the special referee for Omos and Brock Lesnar. Interesting. I just thought of this, and I don't know why I didn't think of it last night. The more I think about it, I like the idea of the special referee thing, because if they're really serious about putting back the Hurt Business, right, and adding Omos into it, what better way for that to finally come to fruition than to have Bobby Lashley and Omos screw Brock Lesnar out of the WrestleMania match?
Interesting.
And dare I say, maybe the Street Profits do a heel turn, and it's the Street Profits, Omos, and Bobby Lashley are the new Hurt Business.
You've been wanting the Profits to turn heel for months.
I do. I either want them to turn heel or break up. And it's nothing against their wrestling style, 'cause I think they're both awesome. But it's to the point now where, like, the Solo Cup thing coming down from the ceiling, it's kind of getting a little bit boring to me. Um, the only thing that makes me think they might not do that right away is the fact that Montez Ford and Bianca Belair are about ready to debut their short reality show. And the fact that she's a babyface, they might not turn him heel while the show's still going on. I know some people say, well, what about Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander? But come on, let's be real. They haven't done a consistent thing with Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander since the Hurt Business.
Amen to that. So yeah, it's all interesting theories. So, do you feel like you want to double down and run the table on the stand and deliver?
But see, what would be doubling down? Because doubling down would mean we add something to the bet.
Oh, you've had me thinking about this for so long.
So before I agreed to double down, I kind of want to know what I'm doubling down into.
I couldn't do that too. Oh, yes, I could.
No, say it. Then I'll decide if I want to do it or not.
Mariners game and a Good Times dance.
You're on.
You're crazy, dude. There's no way you're going to.
The sad thing is, I feel more comfortable making the predictions for Stand and Deliver than I do WrestleMania.
Well, I know. So, hey, I guess you might not have to do one for the Good Times dance, but I've got a funny feeling. You're gonna. Ugh. Poor Seattle. Ugh.
What?
I said just poor Seattle. The thoughts of that.
I don't know. The sad thing is, I think there's about a half a dozen people that work at the Frontier that want to see me lose.
So, is the executive director one of them?
Yes, in fact, she's bringing in a spare wig so I can decide which one I want to pick.
Yes, I knew Rochelle would be one of them.
That was her exact words. Were it wasn't, why are you doing that? It wasn't, are you sure? It was, I have a wig if you need it.
Oh, yes.
So I decided that I'll have, if I lose, and it's a big if, I decided to have her and Tonette bring in their wigs, and I'll decide which one works best.
Oh, so now you're saying it's a big if. No. I think those fatal four ways are going to be your downfall.
I don't know. Let's ask our fans. What do you guys think? Give us a 1 to 10 ratio. 10 being I can nail this. 1 being I got no chance in hell. Again, post that on the From the Chair. Oh, and we got. And they're all from you. Okay. So anybody that's not Tony, Post that on the From the Chair Facebook page and give me your numbers on what you think.
Here's my answer, guys.
Well, aren't you From the Chair and my YouTube too?
Yes.
That's what I thought.
So in other words, I'm giving him the big old Vince McMahon. No chance in hell.
Although I do agree, the Fatal 4-Ways are probably going to be my Achilles heel. Stand and Deliver, I'm extremely confident about because those ones they've kind of laid out for you.
Oh, I mean, you're still torn about the Braun and Carmelo one. You gotta admit that.
Well, I was up until today when I heard that Braun's probably going to be called up to the main roster. Because
Yes, but you also heard that Carmelo was supposed to be called up to the main roster too and be part of the Hurt Business.
yes, that's true, but what better way to really build Carmelo's legacy to go into the Hurt Business than to be the NXT champion? Or who's to say he doesn't bring the NXT, because NXT only does win Tuesdays, and I'm not sure when they tape because they don't go live all the time. Well, who's to say he can't do both? Paige was up there for a while with both the Divas Championship and the NXT Championship.
Yes, but Paige was a far more phenomenal wrestler than Carmelo.
True. I'm just saying it's a possibility. So let's do this because I wanted to get your opinion on this. Best manager in the WWE right now.
Ugh. Best manager in the WWE right now. Simple. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is...
So you're thinking Paul Heyman.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at that one, but you got to put MVP right up there too.
Who's he managing right now?
Omos.
That's right, nobody. He is an advocate of Omos's.
Well, so's Paul Heyman.
Oh, yeah, that's true. But Paul Heyman's got better skills than MVP any day of the week.
True. Like I said, I would put Paul Heyman above MVP, but I don't think by much.
So, okay, here's another one that Pat talked about at soccer tonight.
All right.
And just not on wrestling skills alone, but on mic skills alone. You have, as Toinette likes to call him, the Fizz.
Love that name.
Against, as I like to call him, the Pompous Ass.
Ooh, oh, good question, Pat. That's a toughie.
In a mic battle alone, not wrestling skills. In a mic battle alone.
I'm going to have to go with MJF.
Really?
Yes.
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 When my hand goes up, your mouth goes shut.
No. No, the reason why is MJF, even though he's being the biggest ass I've seen in a long time, has so much passionate promos. Regardless of what he's talking about, right? He draws you in by like the passion that he has. Whether it's yelling at an 80-year-old woman in the crowd, whether it's telling you a story about, when he was growing up and he was teased for being Jewish and couldn't get into a wrestling school and having ADHD, and all that kind of stuff. So then let's flip the script on that. The Miz, what's the Miz do in his promos? He talks about being in Hollywood. He talks about his wife. He talks about his big balls that are actually really tiny. And he does that. But the last passionate promo that I saw the Miz have was on a show called Talking Smack, and it was with Aberdeen, Washington's own and current AEW superstar. Even though there's some rumors that he might be retiring based on based on what he said after Revolution. Um, that's Brian Danielson, even though he was called Daniel Bryan then. Miz got ticked off because Brian was still getting all the attention, even though he wasn't an active wrestler. And he had one of the most impassionate promos, which Brian actually talked about on the sessions with Renee Good now. She's actually going by John Moxley's real last name because they're married on her podcast now. And her reasoning before I get back to the last part of that was perfect. Jericho asked her, why are you going by Good now? Because I'm not used to it. You went from Renee Young to Paquette to now Good. She goes, well, that's what the fucking government calls me, and that's how they send me the money, so I guess it's good enough for me. And so, getting back to that, though, I think MJF just carries a lot more passion into his promos. But I'm begging you, MJ, if I would get down on my knees, but it would kill me if I tried. Lose the Jericho scarf. Please. I mean, you don't need it. It's kind of annoying. You don't use it for anything, so just, get rid of it. Now, I have a question for you. Have you seen the WrestleMania musical yet? Because I haven't, other than the little teaser that they showed on Raw and NXT.
I have not, and I do not want to see it, honestly.
Oh, come on. The last part was talking about how big Miz's balls were.
And Miz or MJF, if you disagree with anything that our host is saying, look at the bottom of our screen, and that's where he lives.
You ass. Oh, come on, Miz. You say you have big balls. Those things are shriveled up more than the California raisins.
No, I don't know if I'd want to see the WrestleMania musical just because it's got the Fizz in it.
That's true. It's kind of late, so I'm gonna diss on the Miz for a minute just because I feel like doing it. So,
and remember, Miz, we're live from Longview, Washington.
You know who I would compare Mrs. Marine, even though they kept doing more and more of them, movies to? Now this, you should be very flattered for this, Miz. You ever seen the movie Ernest Goes to Prison?
Yes, I have.
You're welcome, Miz. And the only reason your one and only Christmas movie was good was because Paige or Saraya or whatever you want to call her played a Santa's elf, and she looked hot in the outfit.
Yeah, everybody tuned in for Paige, not for you.
And again, if you want to find me, bring it on, because there's a lot of people where I live that would be telling you the exact same thing.
Miz, I can be bought, so if you want to come and find me, I'll take you right to his room.
But you forget, if you're going to be bought, you have to be paid by Marie. She controls all the money.
All right, Maurice, if you want to come find me, I can be bought. I'll take Miz to I'll take the Miz to Nathan. But yeah.
Yeah. How's he going to do a skull crushing finale for the guy that's laying in a bed?
I don't know, but I'd like to see him try. Just. But anyways, moving on.
I would say some of the jokes that my friends and I used to say about wrestlers, but I don't know how uncensored we want to make this, and I don't want to get kicked off of YouTube.
So yeah, that's really kind of interesting that you're predicting Roman Reigns over Cody Rhodes.
See,
that's really kind of interesting.
That's one of those ones where I'm on the fence, or on. My heart wants to say Cody. Everything in my brain wants to say Cody, but the way they're setting up Jey Uso and Roman Reigns, which is kind of ironic because that's how the bloodline started, makes me think it's going to go the other way. I do want to go on record that I hope with everything that's in me, and I'll wear a dress if I'm wrong, that Cody Rhodes wins the heavyweight title when they finally split up the titles. I want to get your opinion on this, though. I was listening to Angle earlier today, almost tomorrow, because it's almost midnight. But he said that regardless if Roman Reigns or Cody Rhodes win at WrestleMania, they have to still split up the titles.
Well, yeah, because USA Network wants their title back.
Yeah, and I don't blame him. I mean, he's barely on Raw. I don't even remember the last time we had a world title defense on Raw.
It's been months.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm on a fence on a lot of them, so there's a good chance that I'm gonna have to wear a dress to the Mariners game. But I'm not gonna get into. I don't know. I'm on a fence on a lot of them, so there's a good chance that I'm gonna have to wear a dress.
Go ahead.
To the Mariners game. So, I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna go into details, but I have some ideas to make that kind of fun for myself. So we'll see how that goes. So before it gets too late, I want to thank our sponsors. The CARE program, which stands for Community Action Reaching Everybody, which Tony said last night, without them, there would be no podcast. So thank you for that. If anybody's interested, I believe they can get a hold of Becky. Yes, for the. Yeah. So get a hold of Becky Bernhardt for any information on the CARE program. We'd also like to say thank you to Bruce Nichols Painting. And you can go to them for all your painting needs out of Toutle, Washington. And also, if you're in the Longview, Kelso area or the surrounding areas and you want to go for a drive, please come support the Special Olympics this Saturday from 8 to 11 at Faith Family on Ocean Beach. For a spaghetti dinner, $10.
You mean Pancake Feed?
Sorry, I was thinking about the other one. Pancake breakfast. My apologies for that. $10. It'd be great to see everybody there.
And one more quick thing before we go. Fans of the show also agree with me. You have no chance in hell of going perfect at WrestleMania at your WrestleMania predictions.
Can I know who these fans are by any chance?
One of them is Mr. Dakota Haynes, who says you've got a 1.
All right.
Another one was Mr. Stanley Stimson joining us for the first time tonight.
Thank you, Stanley.
We have Miss Alyssa. And
right.
probably her fine fiance and the other person that I executive produced for, Mr. Shane Meisner, DJ Shane.
Yeah, and I also want to, before you finish those, because I just realized I forgot, for our upcoming stuff, we have coming up on April 16th, we have Wesley. And then on the 23rd, we have WCWC legendary manager and current manager of one of the hottest groups on the Pacific Northwest scene, Hellbound. And then on April 5th, we'll be recording an interview with Special Olympics own DJ Shane. And then I believe on May 19th will be the re-debut for one night only of SOA Radio. I think I got all of them. Did I miss anything?
No, and you're no Excalibur, man. I could have done it better than that.
Well, my apologies.
But anyways,
really quick, did you want to mention what we found out earlier about a possible person that might be popping in on Sunday?
The manager of FlexMex, Mr. I don't want to butcher his name, so I want to look it up.
Yeah, and I also...
It's, Jay Sizzle for Rizzle.
So, looking forward to that. We haven't confirmed him as a guest, so I'm guessing he'll just maybe pop into the chat or listen. But you know what? This is an uncensored podcast, so we never know what's going to happen.
So, before we go, well, let me rephrase that. Before they put this fool to bed, do you have any final thoughts for your viewers tonight?
Just thank you for listening. Believe me, in that picture, I'm not dead. I don't know why my eyes look like they're about ready to close completely. I actually prefer the second picture that you put up, just because I can't say no to that face. And again, if any of the Special Olympics athletes want to be on the podcast, we do from the chair confessionals. We've done three confessionals so far, which can be found on our YouTube channel. Also, as it says on the ticker, please like and subscribe this video on YouTube. It really helps. And other than that, everybody have a good night. Or actually, it's midnight, so a good morning.
And we bid you adieu and bang.